Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leader in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Tuesday, July 1st, 2008. Well folks, July, the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter opened up with an unbelievable move in the markets, just a whippy move. And really, those of you that are coming home from work today and just looking at the markets, you're going to look at the markets and say, okay, the market was up, a little bit today. You got a little bit of a bounce. InTheMoneyStocks.com had been calling a neutral position with a 65% chance of a bounce, and it looks like, they were, dead on pretty much, and, okay, hoity hum. But really, when you isolate the market moves today, folks, it was one of the most unbelievable days over the last few weeks at least. And what I mean by that is that early in the morning, and I'm going to try and choreograph this day for you all because it was just an unbelievably active day in major move activity. Now, early in the morning, pre-market, you're looking at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, even 7 a.m. Eastern Time. The futures were getting crushed. Now, you had problems in Europe. The indexes in Europe were getting slammed on banking worries and rate worries. You had financials in the United States worried again. You had oil gapping up on Iran-Israel issues, and oil was up $2 to $3 at this point, early pre-market, and the futures were taking a hit, no doubt about it. You saw the futures down on the Dow 100 points plus. You saw the NASDAQ futures down 30 points plus at this point, and the S&P futures were down 10 to 12 points easily. Now, what did this all mean? Well, the worries were just coming through. Now, yesterday we had a flat day. Friday we had a flat day. And what did we see for today? Well, early on it looked like it was going to be an ugly day. And even halfway through the day, we had a hard sell and it looked like it was going to be an even uglier day. But the markets were able to fight their way back. And I want to go into all this, what was going on today, and how it may set up. Because, believe it or not, the futures on the S&P 500 contract, and a lot of these contracts on the various indexes, the futures contracts, they have a beautiful bottoming tail in place, and we need to see follow-through first. And I want to make that clear, folks. Yes, it's a great reversal today. It was nice to close positive, but does it mean that we're going up tomorrow? No, absolutely not. What it is following through on InTheMoneyStocks.com call for a neutral position with a 65% of a chance of a bounce. Now, we are seeing a turn date for a nice-sized bounce coming up in the near future, and I'm also going to delve into that. But what I want to talk about first is that bottoming tail. Beautiful setup, and I'm going to flip to it right now here, and there we go. And you all can see, all right? This is the futures chart, all right? And you can see the hard sell down and the close at the highs of the day. Now, after the pause right here, and again, just to note, right after this drop down, we went to a 65% chance of a bounce with a neutral position. And what that was basically saying is you're basically going to have a sideways motion, but after selling this hard from this point up here all the way down, you're due for a bounce. Now, as mentioned, we're seeing a possible move up coming in the very near future. But before we get too excited on this bottoming tail, what I really want to express to you all is let's see if we can take out the high tomorrow of this candle. Alright, we need to take out the high, we need to build a little momentum behind it, but one thing I want to draw your attention to also is look at the volume on today. Tremendous volume out there, guys, and that's another good sign on the reversal. But again, before we jump on the bandwagon of a possible bounce in this market, we want to see follow through tomorrow, we want to see this come through, or at least even if we have a pause day tomorrow, that's fine. The only thing you don't want to see is a sell-off back down to the lows from today. That would be extremely negative, okay? So really, a pause day would be almost ideal tomorrow after this ginormous move, and then we're actually seeing the possibility of a Thursday to next Monday, Tuesday, new setup for a big move up. So watch, not tomorrow necessarily, although it could happen, but more so Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, as Friday's closed for July 4th. Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, as the possibility of a turn date here in the markets for a pretty nice sized bounce up. Alright, and again, I want to point that out. You guys know we've been looking for that major turn and to go from that neutral position back into the calling for a bounce at InTheMoneyStocks.com, and today was actually a nice little signal that there is a possibility for that out there. Now, in all fairness, there's a lot of possibilities out there, a lot of problems out there in the market. By no means are we out of the woods in the financials. By no means are we out of the woods in oil. In all fairness, oil was up over $1 today. It was off its highs, and it went negative for a little while today on the USO, and we'll go into that chart, but we're not out of the woods. Alright, so we're going to have to keep a very close eye, and I want to go into the intraday chart to show it what happened. Okay, now just to go over what the markets did today, again, I mentioned the Dow was up a little bit, up to 32 points, the Nasdaq was up 12, and the S&P was up about 5. But look at this volatility intraday, and this is the intraday E-Minis, the S&P 500 futures contract. Now, and the September contract at that. Now, the key here is you can see what happened, and this is the interesting part about it. Very early in the morning, this is when the European markets were getting slammed. All right, and you can see what happened. The futures are dropping, and this is at 4 in the morning, 4 to 5 in the morning. So this is when most people in the United States are still sleeping. And again, when we're talking 4 to 5 in the morning, we're talking Eastern time. So now what you're seeing here is that the futures are able to bottom out and kind of trade sideways. And this is right here is when the European markets are at their lows. You have oil up $2 to $3, and everything is looking like an ugly market. Now, all of a sudden, the market is, opens at 9:30, and you start to get a rally. And that partially coincides with, we noticed the market had a high put-call ratio. And again, we always watch the put-call ratio because it tells us how many puts there are to how many calls there are. And what that gives us is a good idea of how many shorts to longs, basically like mentality, psychology. And you guys know it in themoneystocks.com. We follow price and charts and patterns and all this kind of stuff, but we also follow psychology, and psychology is a key indicator when things are oversold. And today that put-call ratio was signaling the highest amount of puts to calls at 10 o'clock that there's been, I've seen since maybe Bear Stearns. Okay, and all of a sudden the market started to rally, and obviously that indicator was a key indicator, as we mentioned in the chat room, which, by the way, you all should be joining because it is a phenomenal chat room. We have a great time in there, and just a great discussion, great learning environment, and so forth. But nonetheless, look at the markets take off here. Now, we went right into this 200 moving average up here, and you can see the 200 here. It may be a little faint to you all, but nonetheless, I'll draw it in. There's the 200. You pierce it, and that's your selling opportunity if you wanted to go short, because the markets then started to sell. And right around this time, you got a lot of news coming out about Iran and Israel and possibilities of conflict in the Middle East. And you saw oil begin to uptick again back towards the highs of the day, and the markets just tanked on this. All right, this is the last thing the markets wanted to hear. But nonetheless, as you saw the markets drop down to the lows, and by the way, we made new lows of the day, and things looked very bleak here at around 12:30 or to 1 o'clock, all of a sudden, oil started to subside again. And this is one of the key indicators you need to watch on oil, because we're still in the upper range of this level near a major breakout, but at the same time, every day for the past 3 days, you've seen oil sell off from the highs. And we need to kind of focus on this and see what's going on, because there's been a rumor almost every day of something going on, and it spikes oil up early in the day, and oil can't hold its gain. And what that's telling me is that it's just getting tired. So again, we're very close to that major move up again, but at the same time, it's telling me personally, and you guys know that we've been kind of a proponent for oil seeming to be topped out in this 139 to 143 level. But again, that'll have to be watched. But nonetheless, you saw oil starting to tank here, and the markets just took off with a vengeance. You had a little pullback, and then you had a pretty nice rally right into the close, closing at the highs of the day. And again, as I mentioned, you had that bottoming tail, and I'm flipping to the futures daily chart, and you can see the bottoming tail that basically was formed. Now, that bottoming tail is great to see as you've had choppy trading, but we need to see follow through, and that's the key. A pause day or an advance tomorrow is good. If we have a big down day, that would be a possible negation of that move up, and then we'd have to reevaluate. But one of the things I want to harp on here is look at the volume. Volume very, very heavy today. Some of the biggest volume since the Bear Stearns and since the January fall, the Martin Luther King holiday, right after that when we had that big fall on that Tuesday when the European and Asian markets really tanked. Okay, enough of that intraday stuff. I want to start checking out some charts. Let's look at the SPY daily chart, and we'll flip over to that. And you can see the reversal. We gapped down here, which was, again, notice where we are, folks. We're at key support levels, and I mentioned this yesterday. I mentioned that we were at some very pivotal points on the weekly, the daily, and the monthly charts, all coming together at this key pivotal point. And I said, you know, we think this market's going to bounce. Obviously, we have the neutral rating with a 65% chance of a bounce. But should we break down here, it could get very ugly. And it looks like they're trying to hold that market up. Great reversal and closing at the highs of the day on the SPY, back above 128. And that's a key level. 128 for me is a key level on the SPY. So keep watch of that. And look at this sell. In all fairness, that's a big sell. You're due for a bounce. In addition, you see the XLF, which is the financials, get a bid closing at the high with a nice little tail down here. And look at the volume on the XLF today. Good reversal. You saw Lehman getting a great bounce today. Even Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch was up about 50 cents. Goldman Sachs closing up a little bit. UBS down still on the day, but look off the lows. You can see the little green candle formation there. So the financials seem to get a bid today, and we will continue to watch it. Looking at the NASDAQ now, the NASDAQ's really got hammered ever since Research in Motion earnings came out last week or so. The NASDAQ has gotten hammered, but today was a great reversal on it. Again, it gapped down about 25-30 points. At the lows of the day, it was down over 30 points, but it closed up almost 12 points. Phenomenal reversal again on that. And Research in Motion finally got a technical bounce. Look at that. How key is that, folks? I just want to draw your attention to this Research in Motion daily chart. Look at how it kissed the 200 moving average, and right as soon as it kissed it, rally time, closing up over $6. So anyways, folks, just to summarize, we're looking at that Thursday, Monday, Tuesday day as a major turn date possible in this market for a good solid bounce. Tomorrow will be key to see if we see follow-through. Watch oil, watch the dollar, watch gold. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.